Hi, my name is Melinda Taylor, and I am here to do a book review of the book Dear Tolstoy, Yours Gandhi by Jonathan Kislev. I loved this book. I loved it because it was well written. It was historical fiction, or it is. It is based on real events that happened, and it had the proof in the story to show it. There were letters, there were pictures, there were notes, there were dates and times and places, and it was well researched. I also loved the fiction part of it, the fact that he was able to use his writing skills and his imagination. The author Jonathan was able to use those things to bring the historical event to life. So he would have to use some imaginative liberty in order to, imagine what happened with certain things and to bring it to life and, help it to make sense and to make it more than your typical dry history book. No offense against dry history books, but this book was as enjoyable to read as any book that I would read for my leisure, and as a true book lover who loves to read, it was a privilege to read and proofread and now to do a video review on this book. In this book, you get to really know the characters. You get to know Gandhi and Tolstoy, of course, but you also get to know about their relationships with their loved ones, their families, their friends. They were both married with children. Tolstoy had more children than Gandhi, and they had different relationships with their families. Tolstoy was unable to show his love to his family the way that he could to other people, and the way that he wrote about it. He was a staunch believer in love and in nonviolence. And he wrote about these things in some of his later writing, which wasn't as popular as some of his earlier fiction writing. But Gandhi had always respected and admired Tolstoy and had read all of his work, or at least he thought he had, until he was exposed to some of his later work. And between reading his later work and some of his letters, and also with his getting the courage, with the help of his wife, Gandhi was very close to his family, to write to Tolstoy, it began this mentorship, this friendship, long-distance one, where Tolstoy was ultimately able to influence and encourage and inspire Gandhi to truly follow and lead in his beliefs on love and nonviolence. And he was able to work with those beliefs, and he was able to convince other people to follow him, and they started their own Tolstoy farm that was based on things that Tolstoy believed in, such as not having too much wealth and possessions and living on the farm and making your own food and your own clothes and all of that type of thing, being self-sufficient. And they were able to fight against discrimination against Asian and Indian immigrants who were being treated differently than their Caucasian counterparts. And it took longer to get the results they wanted with nonviolence, but ultimately Gandhi was able to use these principles along with others in South Africa to help get the justice that the Asian and Indian immigrants deserved. And they were also able to use those principles to help people in Gandhi's own home country of India. And eventually, his desire, his dream of having the English rule leave India became a reality. It took a while, but it did happen. And one of the things that I love about this book is, it takes place in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and you're reading about a different time and place, so that's always interesting. But seeing how people manage to maintain these close relationships in spite of the distance, in spite of only having letters and telegrams to communicate long distance, and, having to wait a month at a time to get their mail or what have you. This relationship, this friendship, this mentorship between Tolstoy and Gandhi changed history. And people know about Tolstoy, people know about Gandhi. They are two very powerful figures in history. But not everybody knows that they had this relationship. And, Jonathan did such a great job of bringing that relationship to life and sharing it with the readers. And, I am a psych major. I love psychology, so I truly enjoyed getting into the characters' heads and getting to know what they were thinking and feeling and all of those kinds of things. What made them do what they did, and getting to see them being human, making mistakes, feeling bad about things, having successes, feeling good about things, being supportive of each other, and being hard on each other, just all of it, just being human like we are. And to see them eventually triumph is such a beautiful thing. It's such an inspiration to all of us to be able to see that the important people in our lives sometimes aren't always just the people that are part of our everyday life, but sometimes there can be somebody who's important who is not part of our everyday life. And, Gandhi assumed that Tolstoy had these loving principles all the time until he had a chance to meet Tatiana, his oldest daughter, and he found out about some of the difficulties that Tolstoy had in terms of expressing love to his family, in spite of his ability to express love to strangers and to his writing, the way he could express love in his writing. So even for Gandhi, he learned that someone that he admired and respected, was as imperfect as everyone. And it's just a good thing to learn, that we all have to remember that we're all human and we're all imperfect, but at the same time, we're all capable of doing amazing things, especially with the support and love of good people in our lives, near and far. I loved this book, and I think that you would love it too. Thank you.